There's some new information coming out about Celeste Rivas Hernandez and David. After finding out yesterday that David is being viewed as a suspect and also finding out that he's never cooperated with this investigation, despite his PR team saying otherwise at the very beginning of this, we are now finding out from NBC Los Angeles that David is not even in LA. He actually went to Texas. And this is a huge deal, especially when you pair this with the timeline of things that he has been doing since this happened. Now, mind you, David was on tour when Celeste was found in the trunk of his Tesla on September 8th, but she wasn't identified until September 16th. This was a whole week of the cops waiting to figure out who Celeste was, and the media was reporting different details about her. The tattoo on her finger, her hair, what she was wearing, how much she weighed, and David was on tour and he didn't say a word. Then finally, a week later on September 16th, they were able to positively identify Celeste. And the next day after IDing her is when they would raid the LA home. And then all of a sudden you saw David's PR team saying that David was flying back to LA and he was cooperating with this investigation. You know, a couple days later after those reportings, then all of a sudden David's manager broke his lease and they said David moved out of that LA mansion. 2 days after the cops positively identified Celeste as being the one in the trunk, on September 18th, David would switch one of his Texas homes into his mother's name. And then 4 days later, he would do it again on September 22nd with another one of his homes that he owns in Texas. Not long after this, we found out that David retained an attorney called Blair Burke, who is a famous attorney who has represented people like Harvey Weinstein, Kanye West, and more. In my opinion, none of this makes sense. This man was continuing to perform when they were trying to figure out who Celeste was with no care in the world, not saying anything, and they couldn't figure out who she was. And then the second that they ID'd her and he knew about it, that was it. All his shows got canceled, and this is where we see the domino effect of everything happening. On top of figuring out that David is in Texas and he's not even in LA anymore, we also figured out from police that they are actually talking to multiple people that are close to David. People who they are claiming have connections to this case. Also heard from TMZ last night that they are saying that they believe that Celeste passed away in early spring, and they are looking into a trip that David took to Santa Barbara County around this time for 7 hours. And according to the source that talked to TMZ, this trip took place in the nighttime hours. But TMZ did come back today saying that they were able to confirm that David did take this trip, and the LAPD is looking into it because they were able to pull data about him going on this trip. I assume this is probably data from the Tesla, because we do know that the cops were trying to pull data from the Tesla. And I think that this was the only important part in the new update from TMZ. They kind of went on a rant speculating, well, maybe they took Celeste's body and put her in Santa Barbara and then came back and then got her and put her back in the trunk, and this was all just speculation. And just the way they were speculating this made it honestly very confusing, and I really don't think that that's probably a possibility. It's just doing way too much. And this is just me speculating, but I think if the cops are looking into this trip for any reason, it could be one, this is where Celeste was possibly unalived. By other speculation, this could possibly be where Celeste was made unintact. Because remind you, Steve Fisher, the PI, did say that he saw no indication of Celeste being put in the trunk of the Tesla at the LA home. Or somebody thought of maybe getting rid of Celeste in a different way, drove out there, and then got really nervous, and it didn't happen that way. To me, these three things seem like a much more logical possibility that could have happened. But like I said, that's all just speculation. But the fact that TMZ is saying that they are able to confirm that this trip has happened and the LAPD is looking into it is the most important part, because it shows they believe something happened in Santa Barbara County, and also to know that they are getting this data from data tracking, which is probably from the Tesla. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.